I did a deep dive on these Australian people once. There are these people that teach energetics. Imagine like you go to a masseuse, but instead of like doing anything, they just like wave their hands over you, and then you're supposed to like somehow be fixed. Where they had a page, tons of videos of like, look at these people, they're being freed of their pain. And I started honing in on all the people that were the patients. Something might be up here, and I could link all of them being energetics practitioners themselves. All 10 of them were just trading off being in each other's videos, freaking out, convulsing, doing all the fucking crazy shit. They're all fucking con men. Like, what is wrong with you?
All right, guys, I've got an advanced crusader out there taking down scumbags.
I cover like fitness people that are scumbags, thieves, and liars, and degenerates, people who edit their photos, or from time to time sexual predators, that type of stuff. Paige Hathaway to show this year, she's like an OG fitness girl. I recently called her out again for editing her photos, and the video went nuts. And so she was the winner of like the biggest shitlord in fitness in 2024. I call them shitfluencers if they're an influencer that's a shithead. Isn't it kind of weird in the poker world where they owe all this poker people like tons of money, and then they're out there like playing on streams and shit?
It is weird. Yeah, it is pretty weird, I will say. One of which owes me money, by the way. Piece of shit.
How much does he owe you?
Like $5 million.
Oh? Damn.
Name's...
Get ready to level up. This is Winning the Game of Life, presented to you by Dan Jungleman Cates.
All right, guys, I've got an advanced crusader out there taking down scumbags in another industry, primarily the fitness industry, but he's also taken down pedophiles, 5D energy coaches.
We had one poker thief.
Poker thief, too. Okay, taking out poker thieves. He's getting your ass into shape, and he's also exposing random fitness scams of sorts or random fitness secrets, as well as having a fitness business, which seems like a tough thing, actually. John Dorsey. And I fucking forgot the first ever tournament that might get your ass in shape too. May just be heading your way, thanks in part to John Dorsey and the creative efforts of myself, of course. So yes, thank you so much for your contribution to this idea. It may just even become a reality. And thank you so much for being brave enough to expose fucking dipshits doing all sorts of stupid shit, because no one seems to want to say anything. Everyone's like, oh, like, let's just tolerate it and like not say blah blah blah. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to but I don't want to be bad. And then it's like, fuck, look at all these fucking cheating pieces of shit and their fake ass products and fucking what the hell, like, why are we letting these motherfuckers get away with it?
Everybody loves to see it, but nobody loves to do it because it's stressful. It's tough. You have to be right, you know? You have to be right.
That's true. You do have to be right, and sometimes even when you're right, I remember you told me a bunch of crazy stories about like the relationship thing. Do you want to talk about that or no? Because that one sounds real. That one's like, that was a crazy story. Tell us about the time when you exposed a toxic relationship.
So this always happens. So I do, if you're watching this for the first time, you don't know who I am, I have a page on Instagram called Goobies2, where I cover like fitness people that are scumbags and thieves and liars and degenerates. And I also cover like people who edit their photos or from time to time sexual predators, that type of stuff. And one time I made the mistake of covering it was like a domestic violence situation, and we raised all this money for this woman. She was in a horrible situation, could not get out. She was stuck in Texas with this guy. There's a Ring camera footage of her just beating the shit out of her. And she sends it to me and says, I don't know what to do. Can you help me? I know you do stuff like this. So on my page, we raised $20,000 for this woman in 24 hours. We have Tim Kennedy actually sent out, he's an MMA fighter. He sent out like a whole crew of people to move her out of her house. A real estate agent that follows me found a new apartment for her, like everything. We just pieced it together. 24 hours, just, you got a new life. And she went back to him. And there was another one I did where after I had posted it, the victim, who was a victim, that we had video proof of them being a victim, started making her own posts saying that I was a liar and none of it was true and blah, 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 blah. And here it comes out, they just got back together, and she just hated her new reality where everybody knew that her boyfriend, who she still loved, was a huge abusive piece of shit. So...
Oh, yeah. You're telling me basically, well, it sounds like their cases didn't really come through I don't know what they did exactly. It sounds like it made some people call you a piece of shit, I'm sure. But generally speaking, people knew what the truth was and that.
Yeah. Well, the girl came to me and let me cover it. It said, this is can you help me? I need to get out. I posted a thing. Everybody in the industry knew who this guy was now. He's a fucking, beats his girl. And then all of a sudden she's saying, oh, that didn't happen at all. When she was the one that proffered the information in the first place to me, had videos of it happening and photos of her injuries and all this shit. It was actually crazy. It was actually crazy.
So, well, this kind of scares me from doing such things, to be honest. Although, like, it sounds like these things start to get like a little bit complicated once we head into like the fucking pair bonding love situation where people like can't fucking detach from their toxic partners. It sounds really illegal, actually, what she did to go back and say, "Oh, you tried to like, you made it all up and all of that." I mean, couldn't you have like countersued her or something like that, or?
I wanted to light a bunch of money on fire for an idiot, I suppose, but most of the time that's just not even it's just not even worth it. She's dumb. Clearly, she's dumb. She's in a horrible spot. I mean, she's probably getting, I don't want to sue the girl getting beat. You know what I mean? Like, she's
a fair point. Yeah.
She made a bad decision, and she's making bad decisions. And 5 years from now, hopefully she'll call me and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I finally got away from him, and I'm in a good spot." And I'll say, "That's nice, thank you. Have a good life." Like, that's actually happened before.
Really?
Where there was a girl. It was a similar situation, and she had called in and said, "Hey, I don't know why the fuck I did that, but yeah, I was in tough." But I don't do fucking relationship stuff anymore for these reasons. I've been burned too many times. You cover a story, blah blah blah. They get back together, then all of a sudden you're the fucking asshole. It just I don't know who these people are. I don't know their story until they put it in my fucking lap. It's so stupid. So fucking stupid.
Yeah, that sounds really scary. That sounds very fucked up and scary. Yeah, this does seem like one of those things where you don't have to, I guess you just let it handle itself. Like, it's not really gonna work out well to fucking abusive relationship.
You try. It's so sad because like sometimes I don't know, like you try to help people sometimes, and then you figure out why they aren't getting helped. And it's always their fault or something that they're doing that's just like harming other people around them. They just drag everybody into, like all these stories I get are messages that people solicited. It's not like I know this girl and, hey, let me tell your story. She comes to me. Oh my God, I have all this stuff going on with me. There was one, I know them because I've met them at a bunch of fitness expos. They're a husband and wife, and the wife has probably 10 times now over the last 2 or 3 years sent me and then ended up deleting the messages, and I'll just read them and never like do anything with it. These messages trying to expose her husband because he will go and be fucking some girl that he's not supposed to be fucking. And there was one, it was a crazy series where she had all these messages she sent me where she had put like a GPS thing on his car, put an air tag in his car, followed it to the house, had pictures of the house, and all this crazy shit. And she's like, and I was like, well, her name's Ashley. I'm like, Ashley, what do you want me to do about this? She said, I want you to expose him. And I was like, you've sent me stuff like this 5 or 6 times, and you always just end up deleting it, so I'm not doing that. And she was mad at me, but then, 3 months go by, and they're back in each other's bios, and all the couples' pictures are back up, and everybody's happy, I suppose.
Well, to be fair, the pair bonding mechanism is like a biological need. I mean, if you look at it, I was reading this book Attached, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but like it's like legit, like it's how things are like meant to work. It's actually meant that you're supposed to be dependent on another partner. If you do get this pair bond, it's actually an extremely hard thing to break, to be fair. So like, and I guess if you're in this situation, you're a woman, I mean, I can kind of empathize. I don't know why she doesn't just like divorce him and like say, here's all the proof. But like, this seems like
it's sad because it's hard to get it. I mean, it's if they don't have a ton of resources, it's really hard to get away, and I get it. But also at the same time, I don't really understand the desire to publicly want to incinerate your significant other, knowing that it's possible in the future you'll get back together. That's just an uncomfortable situation. I don't understand that.
Fair point. This sounds like really like an inferno of problems of sorts. This sounds like let's dial it back a little bit and go back to like more manageable stuff, such as like shitheads being greedy for money and like 5D coaches.
Those are my favorite. The 5D coaches. I get sent that shit all the time, and I'll just cover it like once a month. But it's the energetics people where I don't know. I did a deep dive on these Australian people once, where I found out and connected all of. So if you're just watching this, you don't know what the fuck we're talking about. There are these people that teach energetics.
I know roughly what you're talking about.
Imagine like you go to a masseuse, but instead of like doing anything, they just like wave their hands over you, and then you're supposed to like somehow be fixed. And that's I'm not even making this up. That's the whole fucking thing. But anyway, I did this deep dive in these people in Australia that were like this whole energetics, whatever. They had a page, tons of videos of like it working, and it just looks so good. Like, oh my god, like look at these people, they're being freed of their pain. And I started honing in on all the people that were the patients. And I could link all of them to being energetics practitioners themselves. So they were all like, say there's 10 people, and all 10 of them were just trading off being in each other's videos, you know, freaking out, convulsing, doing all the fucking crazy shit to pretend like it actually worked, when at the end of the day, it's just like, they're all fucking con men. Like, you were all fucking gypsies doing this shit. What is wrong with you? Jesus Christ.
Well, maybe they're all like just wildly confused. That's what I don't really. I mean,
It was like $400 an hour. There was no confusion here, sir. No confusion here. I promise you, they were not confused. They knew what they were up to.
Some other fun stories for you, maybe that Ethan Klein covered a couple types like this. Like there was a guy that you'd pay, and he would just like stare at you, and you just like stare back at him. This whole fucking thing. It would just
see
like,
stuff like that is like, okay, when I'm looking at the energetics people and stuff, like part of me feels, because there is somebody out there. Oh, also they had webcam energetics where you would lay in the bed in your home and set up your webcam like we're doing right now, and then the energetics practitioner would like woo 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 on the screen, and that's how there was an energy transfer, and they swore that they could do their work this way. They come up with it during COVID, and I think it was just how they kept their scam going. But anyway, these are people that are coming to them are people in pain. Like they're desperate. If you're going to this energetics person, you're either fucking wacky in the head to begin with, or you're so desperate to get rid of whatever pain that you have that you'll just try fucking anything, and like, here it is, we're doing this now. For the stare guy, I don't know what he's charging them for, but it sounds like you're kind of a weirdo if you just pay a dude to stare at you on the internet. Like, I don't know. I don't know what his swing was, but it's probably some weird shit.
Yeah, that one's strong. There's like some other thing. There's like this dude that I read this story once of like this dude that he could swear had like telekinetic fighting abilities, and he actually bet like a real martial artist $5,000 that he could fight.
Have you ever seen McDojo Life?
What's that?
There's a YouTube page called McDojo Life. He also has an Instagram page, and he covers all those weirdos. We did a collaborative effort once. There was a guy who always would leave nasty comments in my inbox named Dan Marcantel. He'd always leave like weird ass nasty comments, like threatening me and shit. And I go to his page, and his whole page is about how he's like an MMA fighter and like all this shit. There's no pictures of him. And so I sent him a message, and I was like, "Hey man, you want to fight?" And he sends me back this like crazy, unhinged, like, "I'm an MMA professional with a 20-4 record," like just this crazy copy pasta of just like nonsense. And I was like, what the fuck am I looking at here? So I dig through his shit, and I figure out like who his son is and who he is and where he lives and all this crazy shit that you can find from just like, you know, browsing somebody's profile. And I find out that he has no record anywhere of ever being in an MMA fight. And so I cover it in a video, like kind of laughing about this like weird dude named Dan Marcantel that made all this shit up. And he was relentless. Like the dude just never stopped. Like he just kept interacting. Like you'd think like you got cooked for like making up this huge MMA record. No, absolutely not. So the dude McDojo Life picks it up and makes it like he's in the fighting world. So he posts about it, and it's huge. And unfortunately, the guy's kid, so Dan Marcantel, the dude's threatening, his kid is like an actual MMA fighter, and he caught all this heat because all the kids in his gym are like, "Hey, we saw your dad getting clowned online by McDojo Life," and it's quite a situation. Quite a situation. He would make like fake accounts and shit, and like leave comments like honoring his record on my page, where he'd be like, "No, I grew up with Dan Marcantel," and it was like super bizarre. And we have every year. We didn't do it this year, but we usually have an award show called the Goobies, where I give away awards to like the shittiest people in the that I covered the year, and I like invite them to come down. And so I invited Dan, and he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to come. And when I see you, I'm gonna strangle you immediately, and I'm gonna make you tap out." And I was like, "Awesome, Dan! Like, just get me your name, date of birth, and an email that I can send these tickets to, so we can fly you out. You know, whatever airport you're flying out of, because we have it in Dallas." And he's like, "No, you don't want to be around me because I'm gonna hurt you." And I was like, "Dan, like that's totally fine. Like just come, it's okay." And we have this whole message, and then he starts demanding crazy shit. He's like, "I want a limo. I want $5,000 to show up. I want this." And I was like, "Dan," it got to the point where I was like, "Dan, I'll give you $2,000 to show up, plus flight, plus hotel." And he was like, "No, no, 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 I need 5, I need 10." And I was like, I tuned around and I was like, okay, because we like get paid, you know, I sell the stream and stuff, and I was like, I'll probably make about like 10 grand off this, so, like whatever, I'll give him $5,000, and if he shows up, like it was my most popular story of the year, like definitely more people will watch, and so I was like, all right, damn, 5K, I'll do 5K for you, and he's like, all right, and I was like, but dude, I'm not gonna give it to you right now. I'll give it to you either in cash when you show up, or I'll put it in an escrow account and then you can access it. And he's like, no, you're gonna rob me. And I was like, do you know what escrow means? Like, Jesus Christ, Dan. And so he,
Oh man.
yeah, he never ended up showing up. But we made this award for him. I ordered a black belt. Oh, he lied about being a black belt too, which is a big component of
Oh
the
no
story.
shit, he lied about being a black belt. I think that's like
So I ordered a black belt online, and I wrote in whiteout "Keyboard Warrior Award" on it, and that was going to be the award that I wanted to hand him in person. I can actually probably find it. Hang on, let me find it.
Wait, so do people actually show up, and do you actually give? I mean, I presume you give them money sometimes, because I mean that's kind of crazy. They're actually trying to get like a fucking like nutcase to show up.
Unfortunately, nobody's ever showed up thus far, but like one of these days. Here's the black belt. It was the Keyboard Warrior Award. It's pretty cool. But one of these days somebody will show up. So far, we haven't had much. We tried to get Paige Hathaway to show this year. I don't know if you know who she is, but she's like an OG fitness girl that's like been around forever. And she got cooked back in like 2014. She was at the top of everything. Like everybody knew who she was. She was like the it girl in fitness. And she was caught editing her photos, and she got super cooked for it. There was a YouTube account called Potato Shop that called her out. And it was like a huge thing. Like this whole company toppled because of it. And I recently called her out again for editing her photos like a decade later. And the video went nuts. And so she was the winner of like the biggest shitlord in fitness in 2024. I call them shitfluencers if they're an influencer that's a shithead. And I reached out and I was like, hey Paige, like, do you want to come down to Texas on these days? And she just left it unread. So it's like, fuck, who are we gonna have? And that's when we resorted to Dan, and he didn't want to come out either. So it was just me and my co-host and in our imaginations this year. It sucked.
Well, does it like destroy what's left of his business if he comes out? Because I would have thought that's a $5,000 free roll and an opportunity to finally strangle you. Of course.
Well, see, Dan is a tiny little angry man that I don't think would feel confident in my presence. So,
well, I mean, obviously, I thought that was the joke. Of course.
yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I was like, dude, $5,000 to show up and strangle me? Like, you would love this. You should love this if anything you ever said was true. But he just, he kept making the, like, I'm saving you, son. I'm doing you a favor. I was like, okay, buddy. Like, yeah, I'll keep my $5,000 in my life. Sounds great.
Next time, throw in the limo. That might be what got him.
He actually demanded. I'll have to pull it up, but he demanded like a limousine. It was like this particular hotel that he picked that was like actually like an hour and a half away from the fucking venue we'd picked out. It just made no sense. Like, come on, bro. Like, why would we do this? This makes no sense. Fucking loser, Dan Marcantel. His Instagram, it was MMA Dad like 1965 or something like that. It was ridiculous.
I've never had anyone like actually come on and like name people too, because like I don't think it's necessarily a big deal. It depends on the depth of like what they've done and stuff, and I mean, for the most part, like, there's not really that much downside. I've always tried to be like, yeah, you go ahead and name people if they're gonna do fucked up things. Like, there should be consequences for these things. Like, no one in poker really. Like, there's loads of people in poker that just get away with it because, like, it's quote unquote not practical to be
Me and you,
conversational. in spots.
we had the talk the other day where you've given this guy 2 or 3 chances to pay back a large debt that he owes, and he's been like dogging you and not really responding.
Well, he's getting posted, dude. He's, if he doesn't take my options, I've taken like the careful legal route where I can't get fucked at all, and even if he does, he gets smashed by my resources and all that. Like, it's like, that kind of fight. But yeah, like, I just want to like give people the chance to turn around, because you really ideally, you ever watch those kung fu movies where you want to get the bad guy to turn and like that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm trying to do that. I'm like, come on, man. Fucking do the right thing. Don't make me fuck you.
You'll realize at some point that there are just truly, because I've been doing this, man, and just a lot, like, the people that are savable will be saved right away. And those that need to be sat on and crushed absolutely are fucking lost causes. And that's just the unfortunate reality. And it's, I mean, I've had so many people on the page where they do something stupid and they're like, damn, you're right. And they just stop doing it. They fix whatever it was and they just stop doing it. And then you'll have the fucking Dan Marcantel MMA dads of the world that'll just fucking, to the end of time, the dude's still making accounts. He will still make accounts because he blocks me and then will like make accounts again and he'll troll me. And like, I know it's him because I'll go to who he's following and it's his son and the MMA gym that his son trains at and Conor McGregor, and those are his 3 people he's following. It's just fucking absurd. Like, absolutely absurd. Every single time. I'm like, Dan, I know this is you. And he'll be like, this isn't me. Like, why, bro? Fucking lunatic. Jesus Christ.
Well, speaking of why, I was watching many of the people that you outed, many of these fitness guys, and I'm looking at them and thinking, holy fuck, these people are like pretty good shape. You know what I mean? I'm like, why do they need to edit their photos and risk their entire reputation just to look like,
they're literally the best.
Like,
like the best in the world. They are like the highest caliber athletes. And they just absolutely fucking, like, for what, an inch on your delts? Like, why? It just makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense at all. Nothing.
Okay.
0 cents.
I presume it's some kind of like psychological obsession where there's super LinkedIn on it or whatever. But I thought you'd have a little bit more to say than that. What other sort of shitheads have you been outing?
I mean, there's so many. Let me look at what we've had recently. Let me look at my page, because as soon as I post this shit, I just try to forget about it. To be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Oh, do you know who this guy is? You may come across him, Sean Mike Kelly.
Yeah.
The podcaster. So I did a deep dive on his shit, and like all of his metrics were just like inflated and manufactured. So he had like 8 million subscribers or something on his shit. And all of them are just fucking bots. Like, he has maybe like 100, 200,000 real followers, and then the rest are just inflated. If you look at the likes and comments on his videos, like, it doesn't line up the actual interaction and engagement. He's paying for that shit, and then reaching out to. I covered him in a story because he's paying for all this interaction, and then reaching out to a podcaster or somebody that has something like you, where he'd be like, all right, the guy's got some money, but like he's getting into social media and he's embracing it. Let me see if I can get him. And he would offer you like, hey, come on my podcast. Look how many views I have. Look how many people I have. You're going to give me $6,000. Fly down to the Win. We shoot at the Win and you'll be here, whatever. And then I'll let you know when I post it and we'll collab it and post it up. But what actually happens is you've paid $6,000 to now be posted on a page that nobody's fucking watching. And he does this over and over and over and over and over again. And then because of that, he's able to then take some of that money and pay actual celebrities. A friend of mine was like in the talks of going out to shoot on his thing because he thought it was a real legit thing. And I posted the video and he's like, oh my God, like I almost went out to that. Like, yeah, man, like gotta be careful because nobody's looking. You look, you're like, oh my God, you got like 200,000 likes on a post, like 7,000 comments. When you look at the comments and realize that all the comments are from fucking accounts in India that are just saying like hearts and stars and hearts with a little bow on it and all that stupid shit, like you realize like, something might be up here. Something is not right. There was a kid that I used to work with named David Fix who I I didn't know this about him, but in 2017 or 2018, he was arrested in one of those stings, like a Chris Hansen sting. He went to go meet an underage girl who was actually an FBI or an intelligence agent that was in a chat room that lured him out. Come bring ice cream and condoms or whatever the fuck it was. And he got arrested for it, thinking he's going to go and hook up with an underage kid. And I didn't know about this at all. I've known the kid for 6 years, 5 years. I've trained him for bodybuilding shows. I've gotten him in shape for bodybuilding shows. I've traveled with him. I've had him stay at my house multiple times. He's been in this house. He slept on my couch before, and I didn't know any of this about him. And he reached out to me maybe like 2 months ago, and he said, "Hey John, I'm trying to work on this bodybuilding team, and you know the owner. Can you please put in a good recommendation for me?" And I was like, "Of course, man. Like, I've known you forever. I'd love to." The guy who runs the bodybuilding team is a good friend of mine. I call him up. The guy's name's Austin. And I'm like, "Hey, Austin, David wants to be a coach. I don't know how many applications you have." He said, "I have 64. I was like, "Oh, that's rough. David's a great guy. I'm not telling you to skip him ahead, but he's a good guy to look at. I trust him, with everything." And because of that recommendation, he gives David the job. David tells me this like 3 or 4 days later. And David just calls me and he's like, "Hey man, I just want to say thank you. Like, I got the job because of you." And I hung up the phone, and it bothered me because I was like, David's my friend, but like, I've never looked into him. Like, what's his background? And I just fucking Google his name, and I type his name into David Fix, type his name, and I just read the first 2 pages of Google results. And then the second page is a fucking mugshot for this kid when he went to go to this sting and got clapped for trying to fuck a kid. And so I covered it in a video. I had to. And in the video, I was like, "Hey guys, I made a mistake. I recommended this guy for a fucking job, and he's a friend of mine. I've posted him. I've marketed this kid before, and he has a platform, mainly, partially because I've helped him gain it, and he's a pedophile." So, yeah, I tore the kid's, tore everything I built for him apart because he's a pedophile. He's a friend of mine. Like, that's pretty fucked up.
When I first outed somebody who turned out to be a raging scumbag, by the way, what the fuck was his name? Oh, fuck. Is this Slavic dude that, like, stole from my friend, just, like, didn't pay back for, like, no good reason. And, like, just everything I heard about this guy was, like, terrible. It happened in the case was it just, like, completely smashed this guy on the internet. Everyone just totally cheered. It turned out that he, like, kind of fucked over his boss too, and like managed to twist the legal situation around on him, but there are no real holes in mine. But like shortly after about this, like people like would come out to me and message me like all this like dirty laundry about other people. Like there's this guy who's got like an illegitimate child that I never imagined, and he's like scamming like some guy, and there's supposed to be like someone who's really reputable. There's quite a few really reputable people that did really bad things, and I'm like, what the fuck, like, dude. And then I start getting around this idea that many of the people that I know have probably like done something very bad. I'm like, fuck, like
there's
how do I handle
that other component of like, can somebody that's done something bad ever be forgiven? And in my opinion, in most instances, absolutely, except for if you hurt animals or you hurt kids, like absolutely not. Everything else, like, you were a thief and you fixed it or whatever, like, people have crazy stuff going on in their lives, like addictions, whatever. Who knows what they're going through. It causes them to do these bad things, but do they continue to do that? Do they continue to be this bad person? I know a guy personally that he did something horrible. He was absolutely raging on drugs all the time, and he was speeding in his car, high as a motherfucker, and he ends up running into an old woman in his car, like destroying her life, kills her. Her husband is in the ICU. She is dead. He gets 2 years for manslaughter because of it. And why did this happen to him? Because he was a fucking raging drug addict at the time that was driving recklessly and making huge mistakes. This was 6-7 years ago. Now he's been 5 years clean, 5 years out. He is a normal, well-functioning, contributing member of society today that is super successful in his own industry. It has a ton of regrets for that. Would it be fair for me to cover that today and be like, "Hey guys, look at what he did"? No, I don't think so. But if I saw a post of him in his car drinking and driving and bragging about it, would I bring it up? Absolutely. But he's not.
Then
Yeah, but he's not that person.
right. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, if someone no longer does the crime, you're just like going in the fucked up direction where you like kind of shame someone for their like deep past. Like, how is that a good thing for anybody, right? Except for the person who's fucking shaming. It makes them feel better. But for literally everyone else, you're like being an asshole. I mean, I totally agree with you. And I mean, at least in theory, anything can be forgiven, I think. There's like these two stories in history. Like, you've probably heard of Milarepa, for example. Oh, you do know Milarepa, okay, because not a lot of people know who the fuck that is. Or Anguli Mama, whatever the fuck his name is, like the guy who killed 1,000 people and then he met Buddha.
I didn't know his name was Anguli Mama, but I knew that concept for sure.
He was. I don't know if I may be butchering his name because these like foreign names can be tough for me. But he had he's collecting like a finger from every fucking person. He had like a necklace of fucking fingers, and then like the Buddha shows up and is like, "Yo, what's up?" And he like tries to kill the Buddha and fails, and then somehow the Buddha's like, "Oh, you're the one. I'm not. I'm just standing still. You're chasing me." That's like the story, and somehow he converts this fucking crazy serial killer into a saint. And then
I think it's like the Buddhist story of forgiveness, right?
Well, that, and also like he basically became like a beggar because that's like a fucked up thing to happen. And then the story of Milarepa was like a bit similar in a way. Like Milarepa like murdered an entire village somehow, and then dedicated his life to repentance, and then became like one of the greatest saints in history, which is, I guess it's theoretically possible. I don't know how much it really happens.
I think all of like both of the things that you mentioned are just like, it's the concept that we're talking about right now. Doing a bad thing does not make you a bad person. Being a bad person makes you a bad person, and everybody can be forgiven to some degree. Murder, yeah, for sure. Touching kids, like, no. Milarepa was not out there raping little kids. Okay?
That's true. True story. Like, he wasn't going that far.
Yeah.
Hey guys, before we get into that, just a quick announcement from the Jungleverse. The Jungleverse is a community that gives you the tools that you need to both get support from the right community in order to succeed in poker in your kind of way. In addition to tools that help you to get better at poker, you've got tools that help make your life easier in a difficult world, such as a justice system, rakeback tools, a community that supports you, working together for your best interest. It's designed to help you find your own kind of way for success, and maps to help you find the best games. The Jungleverse is here to help you. Just click the link below and let's all win together.
I mean, there's worse stuff out there too. I mean, I've heard like some crazy ass stories in LA, like where the Satanist shit happens, and I'm like, I didn't know that was out there. That's pretty crazy.
No, I've covered a good bit of them on my page, and it's always like, ugh. There was a power lifter, some like super unknown guy caught in an underage sting just the other day. And I don't know, it's so sad because I just see it all the time now, and it's like, damn, there's really a lot of these fucking guys out there. And I could never, I mean, like, you've watched Chris Hansen, right?
Chris Hansen, who's this?
The guy who, he does the stings where they walk in and he says, why don't you have a seat right over there? And then they break him down because they try to meet up with underage kids. Do you know what that is?
Oh, I don't know what it is, but it makes sense to me because you do need to start stinging when... the stings make a lot of sense as like a counter defense to a lot of these crimes, because how else are you going to catch these people?
Yeah, I mean they do. There's two friends of mine, Jay Carnicano and Josh Mundy. They call it Dads Against Predators, and they're kind of the same as Chris Hansen, except for when the predator shows up, they beat their ass and film it, and they put it on their locals account for $10 a month to watch, which is kind of interesting. It's somewhat of a guilty pleasure of mine. I watch it pretty frequently. But Chris Hansen would just like ruin their whole life. So you'd show up and he'd say, why don't you have a seat right over there? And you show up to his house, you think you're going to go meet like this little girl, and you're sitting down, and Chris Hansen comes in with a clipboard with all the dirty shit that you said on it. There's cameras that like flood the thing, and he tells you to sit down. And he interviews you as long as you'll let him interview you. And then you say, am I under arrest? And he always says, you're free to go. And then as soon as they walk out the fucking door, there's like all of the local police departments say, taser, 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 get down! And they arrest him.
Fuck.
And then they find out where they work and what they do, and they call their wife and tell their employers and all this crazy shit. And they wild out on him, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty great.
Well, holy shit, that's intense. It'd be really a fucking shitty situation if you had a disease to like touch children or whatever the fuck compels people to do this weird ass shit, man. I don't know. It just doesn't seem...
Super disgusting, man. Super fucking disgusting. Like I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Well, holy fuck. So what have you ever like gotten into a situation that was like particularly challenging to handle, where you kind of had to figure out what to do? Is this just like a morally tough decision for you, or found some situations where like they fought back, or like it seemed like you were mistaken, anything like that?
I had one where it was morally questionable. So a lot of my stuff is just based off of submissions where people send it to me, and somebody had sent me all the pictures that I needed, and it was like this girl clearly edited her shit. She competed in bikini. She wasn't like famous or anything, but she competed in bikini, and I had screenshots of her whole profile, and it was like somebody that knew her from her life. I didn't know who the guy was at the time. Sent me all the stuff, and I ran the story because it was like kind of funny, like how ridiculous this girl had, like she made her ass like 3 times bigger than it actually was, and she had competed, so there were photos of like what she actually looked like. Great body, look not normal girl, like you look great, but she just had to be like a centaur. It was just ridiculous. And so I ran the video of showing this stuff, and I do it always raw, like Photoshop, and like layer them and then bop the layer. So like you just see like real picture, fake picture, real picture, fake picture. And I did that, and it was like this video was cruising. And I didn't realize at the time that her profile was on private, and she had like 800 followers, which is like not fair. Because you have to like... With what I do, you have to decide, like, okay, I'm going after influencers. Am I going after the people that are influenced, too? Like, no. There's the influencers and there's the influenced. And in this case, she has a private profile that she's posting all this wacky shit on for her, like, personal friends to see. Like, whatever, who cares? But, like, I called her out and, like, smoked her for it when she didn't really deserve that. I didn't feel like it was right. You know what I mean?
Are you saying just because she was so small time?
Yeah, she was super small time. Her profile was private. And it turns out the guy that was sending me all the information was her ex-boyfriend that was extremely disgruntled. And she sends me this, like, message. Not angry, not mad, but, like, crying. And it's, like, just a voice message of her basically in tears saying, hey, I know I edit my photos. My profile's in private. I'm not an influencer. I don't sell anything. I don't coach anybody, and I don't try to sell anything. Is that really what you do with your page? And I sat there, like, this is, like, 2 years ago, maybe. And I sat there like, damn, like, I don't want to go down that route because I'm not helping, right? If I'm criticizing the people that are being... Because think about it, like, the influencers that are editing their shit, the trickle down is, well, if she's editing her stuff, then I'm going to edit my stuff, and everybody's worse off because of it.
Right.
Is it right to crack on the girl that has no following at all, that is just, like, posting on this private page that nobody's even looking at? Like, no, I didn't think so. So I ended up taking the video down, and I apologized to her.
Okay, fair enough. I guess you could look at her as a bit like a victim of a stupid mentality, or just a really strange habit that people really want to look like fucking centaurs, or just have these strange figures that...
The centaur aesthetic. Yeah, she's like the influenced. She's not the influencer. She's influenced by these people. So I just felt like I didn't feel like it was right to do that. I was like, nah, I'm gonna take this one down. And then I try to just go after that. Like, now at that point, my account didn't have that many followers on it either, but like I had substantially more than her. Now it's like I don't use the follower count metric. I just sort of be like, are they selling something? What's the purpose of their page? How are they deceiving people? What's the point of that? Is it some sort of abuse? Is it some sort of whatever? The spinoenergetics people, they're fucking housing people for tons of money. Like, tons and tons and tons of money. These people are spending, thousands of fucking dollars to participate in this shit to no end, and it's all fake. So I happily go after them, even if they only have a few thousand on their following. Like, I would happily go after them at any point.
So you go after people based off of this degree of evil that they do, it sounds like.
Yeah. if they're a child molester and they have 2 followers, like I'm crawling up their ass. I don't care.
Well, like crowd molesting is like pretty fucking extreme, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They do something like that. Like I don't care. The guy I just covered that was a powerlifter has like fucking 400 on his page or something on a private page. Like, don't care, buddy. Everybody's gonna see your face now.
I had been making a habit of kind of like, as I was doing this, it's been a bit weird actually. There haven't been like that many outright scams so far, but more like people that, like I talked about a bit of a case with you, but people that kind of rationalize that doing something's okay, like more like episodes of cognitive dissonance, quite a bit, and then I've like kind of come to the conclusion that this sort of behavior just like can't be tolerated because this is how like people just like don't pay debts. Is they say, oh, the person yelled at me, so I'm like not going to pay this money, and I'm like, well, like there's no consequences for running the fuck away. So as now a social like just has to be required that these people like basically can't fucking run, even if like they're not active scammers, but even more so if they're active scammers. Now like it needs to be said, okay, this person's actively like stealing money from people, blah blah blah. But as like to make examples, it seemed to me that if anyone's like using cognitive dissonance to run away from debts or to not pay or to do some kind of cheating where it's not really fair or that kind of thing, then they should be outed, or they should be made an example of to some kind of degree. If
I agree.
Okay, so you
And
do
I
agree
mean,
with that.
that happens a lot where people they did something wrong, and then whatever, the person that's clearly upset. I mean, this has probably happened to you, where it's like you extend some credit to somebody, and then you call, hey, where's my stuff? Hey, where's my stuff? Hey, you're bothering me so much about this. I'm not paying you back now. Like you.
Oh yeah. Of course, this is exactly what happened with Tom, especially until like I started actually feeling sorry for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, well, dude, what the fuck? Like, how am I gonna collect if you're gonna like I'm trying to be nice to you and then you're still being an asshole? Like, it's like okay, what kind of sense does this make?
Yeah, they're raging at you because you want your money back and they're hoping to buy some extra time. But at the end of the day, like, you would stop bothering them if they just paid the fucking money back. And if they were truthful and he said something like, hey man, I don't have it, and this is what the timeline looks like, you'd be like, okay, reasonable. But they didn't do that. They just said, what are you doing? Why are you looking for your money back? They're just trying to fuck you. And that's how it is.
Yeah, or I don't know what the fuck's going on in these people's minds. It's sort of like, I mean, I've understood when like there's been some kind of injustice in the other sort of direction, where like someone, like there's an example of where I did ghost and a guy came after me and was like, oh, like I know you played on this account and you won like $1 million from me, and like I didn't win like 30K on the account, right? So I'm like,
when you say ghost, you mean like you were ghosting an account, not like you ghosted a debt, right?
well, it's the thing that I was in a scandal for, right? Like that,
Yeah. No. You said ghost, like not like you ghosted a debt. Like you're saying you were like smurfing an account.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
this was the
I was
thing got in trouble
confused.
for. Like I got
Okay.
blasted like crazy for this.
I remember, which I think is total bullshit, by the way. But
I mean, I the irony is I actually kind of agree with a bit of my punishment because I'm supposed to be the role model, and I was like, wait a second, I actually am doing
I
something
know
bad.
how you feel about it. But if you make your entire fucking living off of bum hunting whales on fucking line, you should expect that at some fucking point, one of them's gonna get sharp and say, hey, Dan Cates, get on my account for me. I'm getting absolutely I used to play on a Club GG thing, and there was this one dude, I don't want to say his name, because he's probably still getting bum hunted to this day, but he would log into the 510, and it would just be him sitting there. And then within 30 seconds, the whole fucking table would be full. It could be like 4 a.m. People would just like slap onto it. And if that dude ever got wise and just was like, hey man, come log into my account to any super pro, it would be fucking bloodbath. Because people were just happy to go and just fucking let this guy punt off to them. If that's your game plan and that's how you make your money, like you should build it into your mindset that might happen. And if you let it happen and sit there and fucking play and you can't pick up with the fact that it's not the same person, you know what I mean? Like, how good are you if you couldn't figure out that you're maybe not playing against the same loose whale that you're always making thousands of dollars from? Like, I don't know. I know you agree with the punishment. I particularly don't. I think it's stupid. And that's just me.
Right. Well, supposed to be a role model. So I'm the guy where people can attack. Like, okay, but anyway, Yeah, I mean, if someone's like really like taking their job seriously, or like thinking about things really at a holistic, like a bigger picture, then yeah, they should be consider the fact that there's a really high chance to get fucked because it's kind of
Yeah.
like lying naked in the street and being like, oh, how did what?
How did you see me? Like, you were bum hunting. That's what you were doing. You were a professional bum hunter. And they finally wised up, and I guarantee you it has been going on for a lot longer than it's been a popular thing. They finally wised up and realized, oh wow, what a great spot. If I just let some super pro play in my account and split the profits, that'd be pretty fucking cool.
Well,
And then, oh my god.
in the game I played in, the game was like even the site owner, who did not get in trouble, but he did settle actually, was like fucking doing this too. So and like a lot of people are doing it. That's what my justification was. But anyway, like I experienced a bit of the other side where I felt like someone was like really coming after me unfairly because they're saying, "Oh, you owe me $1 million," and I told them like, "Go fuck yourself." Like I don't owe you.
Why
shit.
did they want $1 million?
They thought that they lost so they lost to someone on the account around the time that I was playing, but not necessarily exactly. I know that it wasn't me.
Make it make sense. Did they not play the hand?
What?
Did they not play the hand and lose?
They did, but it's if I played against them and there's like some kind of edge that I gained, then yeah, that would be true. But in this case, like I knew that it wasn't me because it was PLO and I played no PLO. So it was like, okay, well, clearly it wasn't me. And
I just don't understand how you would be $1 million deep into this guy and not have figured it out that you're playing against a fucking sharper opponent than the usual loose whale that you're talking to. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's also another true thing too. Was like you'd have to be pulseless to figure out that site was like not like on the okay, especially with that particular player because he was notoriously. Cena was like notoriously like a terrible player, and like all of a sudden he got sharp. Okay,
Yeah,
multi-table and like played in different ways. Like I don't understand how. I mean that's true too. You have to be a bit of it.
you would have
still
to be
wouldn't justify the
brain
bad.
dead.
Huh?
Yeah, you would have to be fucking brain dead to just be like, oh my god, nothing's up here. What's going on? It's so crazy. Right. I've now lost $1 million and my pants are down. This sucks.
Well, anyway, the point was like, okay, I like there's some kind of justification for the idea of like you've done something bad, and if it feels like someone's attacking you for like way the fuck more than what you think you're like guilty of, like it can be really easy to get on the defensive. It's like holy fuck, like if you've like what's an example? If you like jumped a queue and someone is accusing you like stealing from the shop, it can be very very weird situation to be in. Let's put it that way.
That also, like, that raises the question, though, like, are you ever allowed to change your username? Do pros ever change their username? Does it happen all the time, where they just make a new account? Are they allowed to make new accounts or different accounts? Like, I don't know. Like, where does this stop?
It stops pretty much at the rule. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. Like, there's plenty of sites where just no one gave a shit. And Euro sites in the past, no one gave a shit. If there's some kind of deception, then I think it's unethical. Like a deception for an edge, I think is unethical, where it's like not supposed to be happening. Yeah, I would say it's that's roughly where it stops, right? If you start tricking people to make money out of them, then that's bad. That's greed, right?
But like, would you say that it's not so much that people run away from you as a player? People don't like run away from playing from you. You have no trouble getting people to sit down at a table with you. But it's that they're running towards these whales that causes the problem. They're like flies on shit to like these whale regs that they know that have tons of money that just splash it around. Like, that makes it different for me. It's not like they're just avoiding you and you're like, oh no, you can't avoid me, here I am. It's like they're just seeking out that one guy and then they get their thumbs, they stub their toe because, oh, whoops, some other guy's in the account.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other side of it. If you're like only looking at poker as like a predatory thing where you're just like trying to milk the fucking rec players, then there's a high chance of you getting fucked. Like, it's very volatile. Like, it's a situation where there's a good chance something bad will happen. And on top of that, these guys can like go into the unethical territory too, where they could be like really territorial of their games and like lie to manipulate who gets to play and like exaggerate things. Like that happens too. Like they'll like
Yeah.
like if you start doing shit like that, it's like cheating in a different direction, right? It's like there'll be people that they'll say like, oh, like this really good player, like you've got no chance against him, blah blah blah, or like he's gonna ruin the game, and then they just want to.
You mean to block people out of lineups?
Yeah, because this gets to the point of essentially manipulating in a negative situation. It's like lying and cheating as well. Like then if you're gonna do it one kind of direction, like one thing that I think is always funny is when people like they make the change between going from fair to now something unfair, and then when I'm holding the mic, and then someone else goes from this unfair to more unfair. They're like, oh, now you've really crossed the line, you shithead. But like, dude, like you already made the same fucking difference to get to the point where now you did something bad, and now someone else does something bad to you. Like then, what do you expect? Like, of course, people are going to do that. That seems actually fair in a sense. You see what I'm saying?
And I think, like, yeah, if people didn't play the whole, like, run away from the pro thing, or, I mean, you saw Tom was, with the $1 million game, like, Tom was supposed to be all the seats, and then some of the, people didn't want him to play those, and he sort of got, like, boxed out of being able to play the $1 million game all but just the one time. It's, like, that's why people have to Smurf accounts, because they play hide the pro, and hide the will, and this person and that person. I don't want to play with you. It's like stupid. Like just sit down at the fucking table. Like I get it, game selection is a thing, but like people take it to a crazy extreme where they literally will not play unless they can absolutely make the cushiest lineup of horrible people, and they're the only pro sitting there. It's kind of annoying.
That's definitely annoying. I mean, that's the other side of it for sure. Really, it's you have to look at like the whole perspective, and somehow, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at now. Is like looking at the whole perspective and trying to find like a solution that works for everyone, at least to like overall works on the longevity of the situation. And thinking, okay, what are the actual movements to take place to fix things? But that's my latest crusade anyway. But like kind of like, I mean, also in the sense of like dealing with like people in the fitness industry, I would think that outing people with like scammy products and stuff like that essentially is that kind of action.
Yeah, I mean it corrects a lot, and I mean it gets to a point where like there's so much that I can just send a DM and be like, hey, can you unfuck this, or like can you not fuck this person, or can you just pay this back, or can you stop doing this? And it's like overwhelmingly yes. Like there's a guy I do have to crack that he owns a supplement store and he's a pedophile. And I got to do that. But I found out a buddy of his that's like his roommate or something, and I sent him a message the other day like, hey, do you know this guy? And I sent him the mugshot of his roommate, like from his arrest. He just leaves me on red, which is kind of, I don't know why he would do that, but it's going to be I'm going to talk about it and mention it and show the thing. Like, this guy knows who he is too. Clearly he's not responding and they live together. That type of stuff. But I don't know if you start, it's like you're correcting the industry that you love, and that's what you're trying to do in the poker world. Like it's a dirty game. There's a ton of scammy ass fucking poker people, and you just want to make it clean, and it's hard. It's like an uphill fucking battle. You're never gonna complete it. It's always gonna have dirty fucking people. But at least if you make it obscene enough, people will be like, oh fuck, like I am a scumbag, but like do I really want to fuck this person over right now, because maybe I won't be able to scumbag 7 other people after Dan fucking Cates posts me on his shit and I get cooked for it.
Yeah, well, the hope is that other people like take an active approach. Now this is like where the solution happens, is other people are like, oh, you know what, maybe there's something in here.
You mean like them doing call outs too?
Yeah, like them doing call-outs, or them like bringing people to me, or getting a bit more efficient with things, and making a system, like that kind of stuff. The snowball.
I don't think it'll never happen like where people start doing it too. That's super rare, but you will have crazy amounts of people sending you, hey, this person, hey, this person, hey, this. What's the one guy that plays at Cherokee that owes like all his backers and he gets sued all the time and he still plays?
There's a few people that owes all the backers, but they're like so fucked. Some of them are so fucked that it's like, they need like sometimes they owe their backers because they have no money, man. They're not like fucking the backers because they suck almost. It's like, do you report that they suck? Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know how these people still get backed, by the way. Like, this doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Where they just fuck everybody always, and then people still ship it for, like, I don't understand
No
how
one
that
knows.
works.
That's what happened to me. I one time I backed somebody, and they could get into all the softest games, and they're a pro that's been around for a while. And I thought to myself, how could this person lose in some of these lineups? Well, it turns out I figured it out. Actually, it could see that he was like the fish, and he had like major tilt issues. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's why. I get it now. Like, and then
He found
did
out
clean up
why he needed a backer.
Well, yeah, but you never know these situations. I mean, if you kind of have to look at if people need a backer because they suck at poker, or is it because they have other life issues of sorts? That's really like one of the biggest keys to backing. He did actually, by the way, fix his shit and seemed to play like quite a bit better, like a style that should win in soft as fuck games. But there's something going on there. But for me, man, like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but he just never fucking won.
Who is it? What's the name?
Oh man, I don't know. Like, the thing is, like, he seems like he's really trying. I don't want to screw over someone who's really trying to fix their shit. You know what I mean? He's trying to change, man. I think he's changing anyways. We'll see.
Do we know him? Do we know him?
Yeah, we do.
Does he still owe you?
He doesn't owe me exactly, but he does owe. He owes Jason Mercier, so he'll know who I'm talking about.
Well,
So like, I was like doing some moral justice and trying to help Jason, but I don't know why he's being fucking weird. But I think he's doing like kind of okay now. He's trying not to fuck people when they're like trying to do the right thing.
Isn't it kind of weird in the poker world where they owe all this, like they owe all these poker people like tons of money, and then they're out there like playing on streams and shit?
It is weird. Yeah, it is pretty weird, I will say. There's some funky stuff that I've discovered. There's particularly the people that get involved in like the private game shit and staking. Like I've discovered. I'm not going to say who it is, but he's owed like $10 million, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like by like just lending people out figures. I'm like, dude,
Stop. Yeah, you it just stop. Like, you should have stopped to like $9 million. Actually, like $9.5 million, $9.9 million ago. When people got you for $100K, you're like,
I don't know what
I'm
happened
done with
here,
this.
but it looks like there's always hope, man. It looks like I can see the hope that's out there. It's like, man, I got the hope. And so that's what prompted me to create like these drafts of like legal agreements for people to sign before, taking the money. Like, if they really intend on paying back, now they get fucking sued if they sign these agreements. I actually
well, you can always tell intent too. Like, if it's not just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wire you. It's like, I'm gonna wire you, but you also have to like co-sign this thing that my attorney has approved for me. They're like, oh, maybe not. You know if they actually intend to pay it back right at that moment when they get weird about signing an agreement. Like, I don't know. Now it's a contract. This is so weird. Aren't we just friends? Can't we just do this? Like, they're about to fuck you now. That's just how that's gonna go.
Yeah, well, this is a new thing. This should have been done like 20 years ago, but here we are.
When Dan was a ripe age of 13. How old are you?
20 years ago. What the fuck? I was 15. Okay, excuse me. It should have been done when I was... Well, I was too stupid when I was in my 20s, but it sounds like you've gotten people to pay back, actually. I've, like, messaged people, and they fucking paid back. Like, some people have paid back. Like, it happened.
Yeah. Well, because they're like, if I message them, like, they're like, damn, if I don't do this, whatever the fuck they got going on, they're going to be in deep shit with, their whatever business they have. If it's in the fitness world, and, it's just... It happened to me the other day. Not Lifetime. What's the gym? LA Fitness. They've been charging me for 4 years. I haven't been in an LA Fitness.
I have the same fucking problem with LA fucking Fitness. This piece of shit.
I lived in Connecticut in 2019. I had a gym membership for a year. I move out in 2020. I went to the gym. I canceled my membership in person. I leave, and I think that's it. Like 2 years later, I realized they're still fucking charging me. So I call. I get it canceled, whatever. I have to pay like a termination fee, like whatever, over the phone. Cancel it, done. 2 years later, lead up to like 2 weeks ago, I'm still fucking getting charged, and they're sending me like I changed my credit card, right? So like the numbers change for the first time in like 4 years, and I'm getting these fucking we're gonna send you to collections, and it's from LA fucking Fitness. And I'm like, what fucking amount are they collecting from me? I don't even have a fucking membership. And I call and they're like, you've had a membership since 2019. And I'm like, how the fuck did I cancel this shit twice? And so I try to cancel it again. And the girl says, oh, well, you need to pay the $47 of late fee before we can cancel it. Otherwise, we're going to send you collections. And I'm like, I'm on a fucking airplane and I'm like losing my shit. Like I'm like we're seated and like ready to taxi and whatever, but there's like still like 20 minutes to go, and I'm like lady, like what's going? She ends up hanging up on me. I'm like, motherfucker, because they won't give me the feedback to close the account. They're like, oh, you have to pay the fee, and I'm like, lady, I've paid you like $3,000 in dues for a gym I've not used in 4 years. How the fuck am I owing you $47 right now? I'm absolutely on general principle not doing that. Just send it to collections.
Isn't there
So
like
I
a
hang up.
class action lawsuit or something like that in here? How does this
Fuck
work?
yeah. But I make a post on Instagram and I tag LA Fitness in it. And I post it where I'm talking about like, I've been blah, blah, blah. Has anybody else experienced this? This is fucking bullshit. Whatever. I can't remember. It was more articulate than that. But I post it while I'm sitting on the plane. 9 fucking minutes go by. And I get a phone call from an LA Fitness manager. And they're like, hey, Mr. Dorsey, we got your account closed and we refunded the last 3 months and we waived that fee for you. So everything's good to go. And I was like, how the fuck did that happen? And how does that, like, that's sad, because if it happens for me, it's not happening for somebody that doesn't have a platform to shit on LA Fitness. And then the whole fucking, like, the whole next 2 hours, I was getting, like, regional managers of, like, LA Fitness reaching out to me and saying, hey, if your thing hasn't been resolved, like, let me know, I can take care of it. I have access to the system, I saw your post, we can settle it for you. And I'm like, this is so stupid, because, like, they don't do the right thing until what? Until it's like hard for them, and then they're like, oh well, I guess if people pay attention to what this guy says, we just have to do the right thing now. When the average person that tried to cancel their membership 4 years ago and doesn't have a platform to bitch on, they just get fucked, which is sad.
Hey guys, before we get into that, just a quick announcement from the Jungleverse. The Jungleverse is a community that gives you the tools that you need to both crush, get support from the right community in order to succeed in poker in your kind of way. In addition to tools that help you to get better at poker, you've got tools that help make your life easier in a difficult world, such as a justice system, rakeback tools, a community that supports you, working together for your best interest. It's designed to help you find your own kind of way for success, and maps to help you find the best games. The Jungleverse is here to help you. Just click the link below and let's all win together.
There's no way for like this is at least when Full Tilt couldn't pay all the deposits. There were some class action lawsuits, but like LA Fitness has the money, right? Like they have something.
It was like $47 when they've taken like $3,000 from me for a gym membership I've never used. You think they could just be like, we're even, and we're not even, really. Like they just made $3,000 for nothing. But like, you think they'd look at this and be like, this guy has never checked into this gym ever for the last 4 fucking years.
What are you talking about? Why are they looking at it? You're paying the fees. They're collecting the money. Like they're not gonna look at it. They're like, oh, let's ignore that.
When I call, you think they'd be like, all right, this guy called, he's complaining. He says he's never been here in 4 years and he tried to cancel it 4 years ago. Let's see. He hasn't been to the gym in 4 years. We should probably take his word for it and just give him his $45 back so he can close it. I wasn't even asking for my money back. I was like, can you just stop charging me in the future? And they're like, that's extraordinarily unreasonable, Mr. Dorsey. We cannot manage that for you. Like, so fucked up. It's so. I think I have a Planet Fitness membership from like when I lived in Morgantown, West Virginia, like 10 years ago that I still can't cancel. You have to like. Has to be like a high moon. You have to go in. You have to wear like your chakra outfit and like do a finger painting to cancel it. It's all sorts of stupid, goofy shit. It makes no sense. No sense at all.
Well, I guess if you catch them at the right moon angle or the moon crescent moon or whatever the fuck it is.
You must be the crescent moon. It's so stupid. By the way, are we going to talk about shuffle and shred?
Wait, I thought we were going to go there. I thought, yeah. I mean, you said tease it.
Okay, there's a tease. If you're watching this, there's a fitness poker tournament lifestyle enhancement craziness that we have going on. It's super fucking cool. Me and Dan are cooking it. It's going to be tournament structure, and you're earning your way by getting in shape. And nothing's ever existed like it. We're working out the kinks. We actually have a big meeting tomorrow to try to figure out, is this even a viable thing that can work? And I think that the answer is yes. And I will be extremely happy if that is the answer. So,
Yeah, and first ever tournament where you can lose fat or get in shape and earn money and compete against your fellow man, and presumably play against people that aren't necessarily that great at poker as well. So it should be quite soft.
yeah, it'll be like a bum hunt.
Literally a bum hunt.
A bum hunt. We have, by the way, tomorrow evening we have a meeting that I'll tell you about later after this. But
Sure.
it'd be cool.
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about your whole actual, like, the main thing that you do, your main job and all of that, before you expose lots of scammers and all that. There are lots of fun stories in the scam stuff. Let's move on a little bit. Like, your main job is selling like coaching products and stuff like that. It seems like you coach recreational, like people go to the gym, but also professionals as well. Is that right?
Yeah, it's sort of like how like poker coaching is, where some people aren't professionals, but they want to be better in some aspect, and they can gain an edge by just consulting somebody that knows a little more than they do. I've been doing it for almost a decade. I coach professional athletes in the bodybuilding world. I coach amateurs. I coach lifestyle people. And anybody that just wants to get a little bit better, they come to me, and I get them set up with diet, training, and all that stuff.
This seems like a tough industry to get sales in, to be honest, just because, like, it's hard to stand out, I would think. Just, I mean, you have your own thing where you easily stand out, and this, like, builds virality. Like, no one really has that, actually.
Well, people are just so bad at marketing stuff. It's not even funny. And I mean, when I had 2,000 people on my page, like 2,000 followers, I still had an absolute fuck ton of clients. I've always maintained. Nowadays, I have less because I have like other sponsorships and shit. But I would have between 100 and 120 clients with a really small page, just because if you do good work for people, it's like word of mouth. You know, I had a guy, he was an anesthesiologist, and he like got into crazy shape. He was like, I love him to death. He was a fat bastard, and his name's Ryan Hogan. And I was like, Ryan, you're like such a successful dude. He's an anesthesiologist, like 6'1", beautiful wife, like dude's a stud, and absolutely could not just like stop eating. And I was like, I knew him, like a friend of mine, and I was like, dude, you need to like get in shape, like I'll help you. So he hires me, get him in great shape, and all of his his coworkers and shit are like, who do you use? How did you get in shape? It's like that question that's so easy. Why is semaglutide right now like super popular? Because people started losing weight with it, and what did you do? And they just say semaglutide. All you have to do is order this shit. You don't even have to do anything. Oh my god, it's flying off the shelves. But you know, for the fitness aspect of it, if you're getting in shape and you have a coach, what did you do? Oh, I hired this guy. That's the best recommendation you could ever get, and you just get so much word of mouth by that if you actually try and work hard and guide your people to the things they need to do.
So how do you, like, what does that look like? What I mean is, like, how do you, especially if he's like gone to other gym people in the first place, it sounds like the best marketing is like, do a good job. This is, by the way, what Alex Hormozy says. It's like literally just do good, and then like people will come to
crush.
you.
Yeah.
But like there's something in doing good, I would think, right? Like, what the fuck did you do with this guy where he probably tried other programs and failed, and then he got your shit, and then boom, he like figured out.
So I make it super simple. Like the super complicated, like complex, hardcore diet shit, like this doesn't work. Because it may work in the small sense of like you have this really super committed guy that like can do nothing but dedicate his life to fitness, and then you have fucking Ryan Hogan, who's an anesthesiologist with shit to do. He needs his meal plan to be simple, 4 or 5 meals that he can prep every single day, that he has in the fridge ready to go, a training program that doesn't take him fucking more than 45 minutes to an hour in the gym, and a cardio thing that he can do steps at work, that type of stuff. You just have to consider like who the person is and what they need to succeed. And for the most people, it's just literally doing anything more than what they're doing right now. People don't be mindful of what they're eating, what they're moving, if they're actually training, that type of stuff. You know, they'll go to the gym 2 days a week and be like, why am I not getting in shape? It's like, what if you tried 4 days. Like, that would probably be way better and way more normal for most people to go 4 days instead of just two. Two's really not enough. And if you want to go two, how tight is your diet? Are you actually dieting at all? And the answer is probably no. And work on that. But it's not like a secret formula. It's just a making things reasonable and easy to follow and easy to understand. If you look at any of the plans that I rate for my people, it's grams and ounces, super direct, super straightforward, normal foods, no secrets, no mixtures or anything like that. Everything you can find at the grocery store. You have to go buy a food scale, you got to go buy some meal prep containers, and you have to have a gym membership. If you can do those three things, you can absolutely get in better shape.
So it sounds like the overarching principle is like make it simple and not overextend people with complicated schedules with bandwidth. I could see how just sheer simplicity, like do like these like 5 things and you're gonna lose weight, would work.
Do you remember? There's a guy named Mark Ripito who had a thing called GOMAD, GOMAD, and it stood for gallon of milk a day. You ever heard about it?
What about having a gallon of milk a day? I feel like I've seen this, but I know about the OMAD. This is what it reminds me of.
OMAD is 1 meal a day.
I know, yeah.
So that's like an intermittent fasting strategy. GOMAD is gallon of milk a day. Mark Ripito, he's a powerlifting and strength coach. That's what he would assign to his kids that just couldn't gain weight. And it was just like, it's a stupid idea. But like the simplicity of it is super easy for people to wrap their minds around, to just get a ton of protein and a ton of fat in. You drink a gallon of whole milk is a horrible idea. You're going to be shitting your pants and not have a great time. Even if you are not lactose intolerant, you're going to find some discomfort in drinking a gallon of whole milk every single day. But you will gain weight, and it's extremely easy for somebody to like think about that and be like, oh, drink the gallon, bring it around, finish it, I'll gain weight. That level of simplicity, if you can, not that idiotic, but that level of simplicity is why things work for most people. There are some people that are extremely neurotic and they need like I have a spreadsheets for my clients that they log into, and I have some people that are like crazy neurotic people that will just like add to the spreadsheet and put all these other variables and like how many times they shit today and all that crazy shit. And that works for them, but the average person just needs some simplicity. That's just all there is to it, to be honest with you.
I mean, it makes loads of sense. Yeah, I could see how. I mean, there's a lot to be said for like how you get the protein in a complicated schedule. I mean, I've wrestled with this myself. So it's like, well, I'm like all over the fucking place. Sometimes I fly between places and take crazy travel. But it might make sense to just like stack a bunch of fucking chicken breasts together or whatever. And
yeah, I mean, for the most part, we've discovered that there's possibly not an upper level on how much protein you can absorb in one sitting, but it's probably around like 100 grams. So if you're 170, 180 pounds, I don't know how much you weigh, probably around that.
180 is exactly right.
180, yeah, 180 pounds. So if you're 180 pounds and you're eating like 220 grams of protein, you could do that in 3 decent meals, 2 meals in like a big shake. There's tons of ways you can supplement that and get away with it and not, if you think about it, it's maybe like 3 hours of your day worth of eating to accomplish that maximum. And that's if you're eating really slow. So it's totally doable. It's just, it takes some pre-planning and that type of stuff.
Since you're in like the business of change, I actually think like the method I'm using is like totally, or that we're experimenting with is like totally different in a way, but like more intrinsically motivating for those that like don't like feel like it's hard to do. Have you ever changed some people that were like notoriously difficult to change, or like got them on board with things where their mind was like set up in a different kind of way, like dealt with various like different mental cases?
Tons, yeah. I mean, I've worked with like bodybuilders, and they're almost all just fucking difficult people to work with. That I love them to death, but sometimes it's like you feel like you're babysitting. Like it's a thing where there's, I mean, you discover like what level of communication they need. Some people, they need like their hands held and they need talked to every single day. And then there's some guys that I will have to check on them and be like, are you alive? Are you okay? Is everything good? Because I haven't heard from you. And yes, coach, all good. Totally fine. I have a guy named Kevin Torres who, if I don't hear from him, it's totally fine. I know he went to the fucking gym today, and I know he's squatting big and benching big and pulling big, and he's making progress. There's bodybuilding shows that they compete in. Some people, they want to compete every possible time they can. You got guys like Kevin Torres, where if I say, hey, Kevin, your next show's in 2027, he'd be like, sounds good, and wouldn't ask another question. And some guys are like, oh my God, I want to compete next year because it's my daughter's 8th birthday and I want her to see me on. It's like just some crazy shit like that, where there's like some story as to why they need to compete. And Kevin Torres would say, I don't care about that. What's the plan, coach? You figure out like the coachability of people and what their what their quirks are and what they need and what they're comfortable doing and all that shit.
Oh, really? Okay, so there's a bit of to kind of navigate. You have to figure out how to move people in the right kind of direction.
Yeah, and it's all like, it's not a plan, it's coaching. You're coaching these people. The plan is important, but them believing in you and trusting the plan in itself is huge. And I mean that's what a lot of it is about, to be honest. Just they trust you, and it's the right thing to do.
Okay, well, how do you get them to trust you? Just because someone else said something good, or like you say the right thing?
Well, by the time they have hired you and sent money to you, like they've decided that they've opened their wallet and sent money to you. Like they've consumed a ton of your content, a ton of your information. They probably know people that you've worked with. They've probably talked to them. They're like, this is the guy. And I used to post a lot more transformations because I was trying to grow my business, but they would look at all these other people that succeeded doing what you do, and they're like, all right, if I just follow the fucking thing, I will get there. And that's just a lot of trust that you build.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's also psychology in seeing like other people do it that are similar to you. That seems like a very powerful tool.
Yeah, and that's in marketing too. Like you post the people that are like the ones you want to keep hiring. There's bikini in bodybuilding. They're like girls, and it's like the bikini class. Mm-hmm. It's like the pretty girl class. They're like muscular, but they're not like super jacked. They're like, it focuses a lot on like glutes, shoulders, and like they take everything into consideration. Like they look at their makeup and their hair and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm a man that just absolutely is not like a bikini bodybuilding coach. Like I don't enjoy it. I don't want to coach a bunch of women. Like that's just not a thing that I want to do. But if you start posting bikini girls, like you're going to get a ton of them. They're like tribbles from Star Trek. There's an episode called The Trouble with Tribbles, and somebody brings a tribble from this planet on the ship, and as soon as they eat, they just multiply like crazy. And then like the whole ship is filled with tribbles, and you have like one tribble one day, and then you have like 7,000, and like nobody can even move around, and they like eat all the food, and it's just all fucked up. And that's like in bodybuilding, that's the bikini bodybuilders. If you have one on your team, then you have like 700, because they all like talk about their coach publicly on their page, and they love their coach, and they'll give you like Christmas gifts and shit. Like they're intense. Bikini girls are like intense with it. They just love their coach, and they will try to get everybody on their team, so they have like all their girlfriends on the team together. So like in your marketing, you always want to be like posting the people you want to get and not posting the ones you don't want. So I'd never post bikini girls because like I'm not a good bikini coach, and I wouldn't want them to hire me. And oftentimes if they tried to, I'd recommend them, oh, go to this guy or this girl. They're way better than me.
Well, one possibly related topic on the topic of changing people, is there any kind of relationship between restorative justice and getting people to like change their fucking body? I mean, people aren't paying you to fucking out them on social media, but I like wonder, because it's basically it's a very similar thing. You have to kind of adopt a lifestyle. It's similar in the sense where you have to adopt a lifestyle. You have to change fundamentally as a person in order to see results.
I suppose. I suppose there's something to that. I mean, this part of my life just sort of took over recently, and it's like just been a big chore, kind of, where it's like you just can't stop doing it. Like it kind of sucks, because I would just like to stop posting and just like go back to just doing coaching and the shit that I used to do. But now it's like, motherfucker, like what do I do? Like I can't do that shit. I just have to keep on outing these fucking criminals.
Oh, well, it's entertaining. You managed to make it. I like learned while watching. I was thinking, man, fuck, the way that I'm doing it's so stale. I'm thinking maybe I should just go I did the humorous route a little bit, particularly when people are like wild shitheads. But
you have to think of it like like from the beginning I started the page, it was like, all right, well, if this is entertaining, people are going to watch it, and if people watch it, I can change. And the whole reason I did it is because like I love the fitness industry and I wanted to improve the fitness industry. It's like this beautiful thing that I've made all of my money in, and it's like paid my bills for years, and I would love to make it a better place. And I know it can be a better place if I just discourage these bad acts, but like it can't be plain and boring and like a fucking wanted poster. But if it's funny and interesting, and I'm talking about something lighthearted, like people editing their pictures and sort of clowning them, then that becomes like it's not the end of the world to be on the page, but also you don't want to be on the page because you're kind of getting clowned. And also, people love to watch it and it entertains them, and they send it to their friends and post it on their page too. And then when you get that, you grow an audience. And if I talk about some real shit, like, hey, look, this guy's a fucking predator, then the magnification is huge. You know, like if I post predators every single day, or if I post thieves every single day, or like the really like heavy shit, you're not going to grow because nobody wants to watch heavy shit every single day. But if you post the fun light shit from time to time and make it entertaining, like you can grow a page. So you're right there thinking about that. Like this can't be deadpan and serious all the time. It has to be somewhat entertaining.
That reminds me of an idea to make fun of all the shitty behaviors in poker and just like become like I don't know if I should ruin it, but douchebag Dan might be making a presence.
Speaking of, did anybody complain about the pan flute or the flute?
Yes, this is probably like I can't just keep doing this. It's just, this is how. Like,
Wait,
some people
tell me how that
loved it and
happened.
Some people, huh?
Tell me what happened.
Well, you know, like the reception while I was doing it's like kind of a mix of positive and like negative. So I'm like, okay, that's actually or very positive and very negative is really what happened. The flute, by the way, is fucking hard to learn. Like it's so hard to play like fucking 5 notes. I was playing the same fucking 5 notes for like hot cross buns the entire time.
And like it's like people are trying to recommend me songs and shit, and then Mike Savage would come up and say, "Oh, look who's playing the flute! Like play the flute for us." And then people are tweeting like, "Okay, I guess I should play the flute some more." And then,
I saw it all over the place.
But it's like kind of a social experiment in a way because polarizing is actually what you want because otherwise that's how you go viral and that's how people remember you and that kind of stuff. But there are different variations of polarizing, right? You can make too many people hate you and too many people. You can have variations where lots of people love you actually and few people hate you, and you could have like total polar divides, or you can have like a lot of people hate you, but some people love you. It's like almost impossible to have.
Well, if you think about it like this, the only people that would hate you from that action, you're gaining an edge from because they're frustrated with you and they're likely to be sitting at the same table as you. If they watch it and are entertained by it, which is the most likely outcome, that's good for you, and it's just the general public. Like, if you showed that to people that don't play cards, that would never sit at a table with you, they'd be like, that's really funny, I like that guy, who is he? If you showed that to, like, fucking somebody that may be sitting at the final table with you and realizing this guy's going to be playing the flute, they may be a little irked, and that's like, oh well, you know? It sucks to suck, I suppose.
If that's the case, then yeah, I could keep playing it. It's like technically not against the rules. So like
that was my next question. Is there really not a rule against playing a musical instrument at the fucking table?
I've never seen it happen. So
I decided to like play with the rules a bit.
That's absolutely. I'm surprised nobody called the floor and nothing happened. I'm amazed.
Eventually, like if someone had asked me to stop, I would have been like, all right, fine, I'll fucking stop. But no one asked me to stop until like the floor finally came over and said something like, hey, just like chill out a little bit until lunch. And so I thought, okay, after lunch comes, there's a fucking Dan the flutist.
So what happened after lunch?
I played it a bit more, and the reception was actually a bit better. It was less hate anyway. Yeah, I like kind of I busted relatively soon. There's this weird rule where like the bounties on people are so big that you like can't fold because there's like a 3-way all in. So the bounties each are $2,500, and like it costs $400 to like level up in a stack if like 15 people bust, and you like happen to 3-bet a hand and gets jammed on, and they realize, oh fuck, I actually can't fold because I can bust 2 people.
$7,500, yeah, or 5K basically to call.
Right. So yeah, I busted it shortly after. A bit of a weird situation. not flute included. I mean, the flute made it even weirder, of course.
They're like this fucking fluke guy. Actually, they're like, damn, if he 3-bets, I'm just jamming. Hopefully he calls and I can just get rid of him. They look down at like 10-9 off. Like, all right, this is the flute. Just get rid of the flute guy for fuck's sake, or get me out of here. Like one or the other. I don't know.
That's how I was feeling. Oh yeah, I did want to ask about a specific subset of fitness situations. I don't know if it's a sensitive topic or not, but steroids, because there's a lot of people that like they say they've had like great results or whatever, but maybe or maybe not they're using loads of steroids and they claim to be natural. Like this must happen a lot in the fitness industry. Like, but I didn't see you exposing these guys.
No, I mean, steroids are a huge part of the bodybuilding world. If you're a competitive bodybuilder, you've used them or are currently using them. I think it just becomes, if you're saying you're natural when you're not, you're an asshole. And unfortunately, it's extremely hard to prove that. I've only done maybe 2 stories where I've been able to prove it, and it's because the coach that they had was a friend of mine that was able to like divulge to me what their cycle was and show me the communications of what they were taking, and I was able to prove it. There was a girl who entered a natural pro show, which is a show only meant for natural professional bodybuilders with which they could do a path to the Olympia. The Olympia is like the WSOP main of the bodybuilding world. Yeah. And this girl's a bum-ass bodybuilder that couldn't win against the other fucking girls that were on the same shit that she was. So she entered into a natural show to try to slip through and go and get to the Olympia that way. Like an easier... It's like the ultimate bum hunt, right? Like she just went off... It's not like that natural girls are...
Bum hunt. Like,
natural girls aren't bums, but like you could never compete against against a fucking girl that's on drugs. It's just not how it works. Like it'll just never happen.
For sure.
And so she ends up doing the show. I did this huge video exposing her for doing the show, and she places she pulls out of the show. She's like flies there, whatever, registration, whatever. I dropped the video and she ends up not competing. And her coach like sent me this nasty message like, fuck you, like I can't believe you, blah, 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 like all this stupid shit. But that, I mean, that's when steroids are bad. Otherwise, like they're expected. If you're at the Olympia, like you're on some fucking drugs. Like that's just how it is. There's nobody natural at the fucking Olympia like you're supposed to be.
Right. Yeah. I mean... Yeah, that does make sense to me. I like good luck competing against people with good genetics and they're on fucking drugs. Like good fucking luck.
Yeah. You just it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna win. Like it's just not how it goes.
I thought there's like quite some telltale signs, at least from some videos that I watched. Like you can tell based on like the definition of certain muscles that are like really hard to get to the top, such as like the abs and like. I mean,
for me, a good indicator is do they make most of their money off of their physique and are they a competitive bodybuilder? And if one of those two is a yes, there's a great incentive for them to be on steroids. And the accessibility of steroids is at an all-time high. You can go in a fucking clinic. I work with a clinic, Mango RX. You can go on Mango RX right now. They'll mail you out a kit from this place called Tribe. You do the fucking blood kit at home. You mail it in, and then they will prescribe you testosterone. Like easy. Super easy. Anybody can get it. And it's seen as like a wellness thing now and not like a huge fringe whatever. It's not like how it used to be where it was like testosterone is the devil. Like testosterone is something that tons and tons and tons of people take nowadays. So you would expect that half, if you're somebody that's in the fitness world in any capacity, like you're probably on something or you've tried something or you've thought about using it. I don't know if you know what SARMs are, but they're like over-the-counter pills that people will take. It's like 2008, 2009, they became extremely popular, and now they're like kind of getting phased out, but testosterone is more popular, and testosterone is easily accessible. There's so many ways of doing it that like, I don't look at it as a bad thing. I just don't like when people are dishonest about it or do it in some sort of way that gives them an unfair advantage to competition. If you're in a bodybuilding show that's not a natural bodybuilding show, everybody is doing the same shit. It's not like MLB where somebody's taking fucking D-ball and corking bats and that's frowned upon. And not only frowned upon, it's against the fucking rules. And this, it's like if you're not taking shit and you're at the Olympia, everybody looks at you like, what are you doing? And in fact, they're not even going to look at you because you probably couldn't even make it to the Olympia because there's no way you could get that big. It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it's like a pretty big difference. Okay, I mean that's a fair point. I mean, there's allegedly a bunch of natural bodybuilders that are like in fantastic shape. I'm like, okay,
Here's the thought about it though, and something I've thought about too. There's two reasons why somebody may say that they're natural or may avoid the question entirely. I mean, one,
well, if they
they may
avoid
have
it,
a,
that's like an admission of guilt, basically.
but they're. Think about it. Like this isn't RTA or something where like it's not against the law to have it. It couldn't ruin your job or your career if you're in the military if you have it. It's something that anabolic steroids. Like if you have a job in the military and you're not allowed to be on anabolic steroids and you're answering questions in an interview about being on anabolic steroids, like you can kiss your ass goodbye. In some states, they're Schedule 3 substances. In most states, it's a Schedule 3 substance for having it without a prescription. So that may be a reason why people would lie about it. And then there's also the component of like, if you're Chris Bumstead, who's one of the most popular bodybuilders in the world right now, tons of kids look up to him. If he doesn't talk about the stuff that he's on very frequently. He doesn't say that he's natural, but he doesn't talk about it, and for good reason. There's tons of kids that look up to him, and if he starts talking about the cycle and the intrinsic things and whatever and specific details that he uses, like, those kids are gonna go buy it. So you almost lose to talk about it, and you lose to not talk about it, which is like a weird, uncomfortable spot in the bodybuilding world that most people probably wouldn't consider without thinking too much about it.
That's an interesting point to make. This would actually be a perfect quote to talk in what's his name, Chris Williamson's podcast, just because it shows like the impossibility of their own situation where like they can't really do anything in either direction. It's like they're kind of screwed to take steroids.
You're in stasis. The smartest thing to do is to just not answer the fucking question and just let people be mad about it. If you answer the question, you're a demon. You answer the question, you're either fake, blah blah blah, or now you're encouraging kids to take whatever, or you're a cheater. It's like you literally don't win. You piss off one group of somebody, and then the other group you don't piss off, and it's just really all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, as I've looked into many of like society's issues, I'm kind of seeing that dynamic that you're mentioning play out over and over. And I'm like, fuck, like, no wonder things are quote unquote fucked up, because it's like, well, people just like can't win from their own individualistic perspective. There's like no real option that makes any sense for them to take the quote unquote right route. So it's like, well, how do you fix these kinds of things? But that's like a deeper topic.
Hey guys, before we get into that, just a quick announcement from the Jungleverse. The Jungleverse is a community that gives you the tools that you need to both crush, get support from the right community in order to succeed in poker in your kind of way. In addition to tools that help you to get better at poker, you've got tools that help make your life easier in a difficult world, such as a justice system, rakeback tools, a community that supports you, working together for your best interest. It's designed to help you find your own kind of way for success, and maps to help you find the best games. The Jungleverse is here to help you. Just click the link below and let's all win together.
On the topic of actually taking steroids myself, I've like really looked into this, but I ultimately determined it wasn't really worth it. But there's loads of people, like TRT is ultimately popular, like super, super popular. It's like, I don't know what percent of guys are on TRT, but it seemed to me like basically it like motivated you more and like made you build more muscle and that kind of thing. I don't really know if there's really a whole lot of positive to do after a certain point. Like, I'm quite healthy myself. I'm pretty fucking motivated a lot of the time, in spite of flying around all over the place, and I've kind of built up the habits of doing that. I'm 35, so it's not like there's probably not going to be some severe, like, I'm lucky I have good genes and all that. I don't have any health problems at all, but I'm wondering to myself, like, does it make any sense to do this? Will it even like make me more attractive to do this? I don't really know if it does that. Like, that matters. That's why we like, a lot of people are into bodybuilding, right? And then like,
well,
also another thing is, if you build the muscle, it seems like you have to like, you have to stay on it forever. You can't really keep the gains, right? If you get off it, you're kind of fucked.
Great questions. So the number one answer for that I like to give is, if you stop showing up for work, they stop paying you, right? And if you stop training, you stop being muscular. And if you stop taking anabolic steroids, you stop being more muscular than you naturally would be able to achieve. So, like, it's one of those things that, yes, of course, if we're talking about TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, like, you only go down that path if your body's not producing the correct amount of testosterone. If you're not within this certain range, it's usually 300 to 900 nanograms deciliter. If you're below that, Like when I was 24, I tested and I was like 170 as a 24-year-old. I was super strong. I was benching in like the 280s at like 150 pounds. I was deadlifting in the 400s, squatting 3 plates for reps. But I just like wasn't recovering, and I was like, what's going on? And I went to a doctor, and it turns out I just had low testosterone. And so I started fucking bodybuilding and taking tons of it.
Oh, okay.
And that was that. And I mean, still to this day, I have to, medically, I'm prescribed TRT, but I'm not doing the stuff that I was doing when I was a competitive bodybuilder. But it's like, you have to think about it as medication. Like if you suffer from low testosterone, you take testosterone and supplement it. It's like you would expect to take that for the rest of your life, just like you would expect if you had a pacemaker to have it in for the rest of your life because it enhances your life. If you have SSRIs, you're expected to stay on them because they keep your mind right, that type of stuff. Like if you look at it like medication, it makes more sense of like, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
People look at it like it's final. Like if you stop taking it, like it's all going to go away. Like, yes, and if you stop eating, you're going to die. And if you stop going to work, they're going to stop paying you. There's a ton of if you stops in life that people just never consider. It's just they look at this as maybe it's like a recreational thing. When if you need TRT, it's a health thing. Like you just don't produce the adequate amount, and you need to supplement it, and that's totally fine. Testosterone is something that is never going up after a certain age. At 24, it's just going south. So if you're 35 now, like you have less than you had when you were 30 and way less than you had when you were 25. And that's just an unfortunate fact of life. But the beauty of it is this is 2024 and there are tons of places that you could get a prescription for with absolute low hassle and low cost to improve your numbers. It's the easiest thing you could ever do.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's more like a matter of like, doesn't make any sense and like that kind of stuff. But it all makes like I totally understand like taking it and like being on the whole like situation. I view it as basically medication, right? Like as you said, it's more like okay, it's like we're using this supplement for the basically whenever, just because it like improves the quality of life compared to not taking.
Yeah. Then there's like then the other end of it is like, we'll talk about it in like terms of dosage. Like TRT, they're going to dose you like 100 milligrams a week, maybe 200 milligrams a week at most. Mm-hmm. But if you're taking it for bodybuilding reasons, some of these guys are taking up to a gram a week. They're shooting 250 milligrams 3 times a week. That type of stuff where they're in 750s.
Shit, man, they're taking like
they're taking like the full fucking.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of fucking drugs. So they're going to be at this like super physical level of tests. They're gonna, when they do their blood work, it's gonna be like 3 to 4 times what the max would be if you were on TRT. TRT just puts you within that level of that 300 and 900 where it's supposed to. There's some doctors that just don't give a shit and say rip it, and will assign their here's 2 vials a month. Like have fun, patient. Well, hopefully you don't take too much. That type of thing. There's tons of places like that out there that just sort of fucking let it ride and hope for the best. But the other end of it is taking hundreds of milligrams a week and gaining tons of ridiculous muscle, and that's just how they are, I suppose.
Fair enough. I basically determined that it wasn't gonna like make me a little more attractive. Might maybe help me look cool on Instagram or do like a fitness post or something like that. But it's like, I don't know if I need more drive. I have plenty of fucking drive. That maybe if my testosterone dips too far, I'll start taking it. Or,
well, how's your recovery right now?
What does that mean? Like, do you mean like, am I? It seems like
depends for like the muscle group, because certain muscle groups are found to be difficult to like grow, but other ones not really, and like my plans have changed a lot and all that.
I mean, are you constantly sore? Do you sleep okay? Or do you wake up well rested? Do you have energy in the day? That type of stuff.
It's varied a lot, and it's varied based on mostly all good, but the energy is varied a lot based on my sleep, which is dependent on. It's more a matter of my own fucking with it, to be honest. I have no problems falling asleep. Fortunately, that's like the biggest thing. I've started to realize, I can't fuck with my sleep because it just ends up fucking with me, man.
Yes,
and Yeah, for the most part, it's okay. But when I start traveling and like I start having erratic schedules, like 3 a.m. podcasts where I have to wake up at 3 a.m. because I made a bad scheduling mistake, like that sort of stuff does like fuck with me a bit.
Is it 3 a.m. where you're at right now?
No, it's 9:30 p.m.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, Jesus, bro.
I've had periods. It's been a bit strange where I've had periods where like I really don't want to move, and then all of a sudden I'm a complete fucking machine and just 10 out of 10 productive for a while, and then like,
You should get your levels checked. I mean, it's something. It's a data point and good to know. And even if everything's totally fine, you can look at it and be like, okay, when I was 35, I was here. And then look at it, 2-3 years from now. If you're like, damn, I'm really tired and I never recover and I'm not gaining any tissue and I'm not progressing in the gym, I wonder what's up. You can at least have a data point to reference and say, oh, well, I know what's going on now.
Okay. I'll check it out. I think when I'm back in the States, but I'm leaving soon to China.
You in China, huh?
Dude, I'm like ready to wear like a Chinese flag. You have no idea. You go to China, you'll get it. It's like, dude, like fucking Chinese cities are so impressive, and I mean it's not perfect, but it's got a lot. It looks better than the U.S. in a lot of ways. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I've heard. Never been, but
just go to a Chinese city. It'll look fucking amazing, like super advanced. There's like zero crime, and what else? And it's beautiful, and what else should I say? That lots of weird food, weird shit. It's kind of like a Japanese culture in many ways, and the government actually has this actually does a good job of taking care of its people, which is one funny thing about China. At least that's to my knowledge.
Like, it's really funny. They actually don't fuck their people up.
Yeah,
do you remember when Fashion Nova did this like weird? They toured a Chinese factory and they flew a bunch of influencers over there, and it was like the goofiest shit because it's like maybe it wasn't Fashion Nova. It was one of those like fast fashion brands where like a shirt will be $3, and you look at the shirt that's $3 and you're like, research, design, production, shipping, labor, storage, advertising, and everything that went into this, and this shirt costs $3. There's some kid chained to a desk somewhere that had to have sewn this shit. Like, there's no way that's not true. And so they fly all these influencers out, and they're walking through this factory, and it's like so clear that they have certain people picked out that they're gonna walk up and ask, and like the factory's all clean and super spotless, and they're like, how do you like working here? And this girl's just like absolutely terrified, like, I love it, it's the best, I'm having a great time.
Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, like it's hard for me to report on. I did see the pretty sides of things.
Yeah,
but what do I know?
There's probably pretty sides. This is just something that popped into my head where it was like all these influencers got super fucking canceled over this shit because they just like got flown. They're like, oh, free trip to China, sure, and they just ended up in this like huge propaganda film, and it was awesome. I'll send it to you at some point.
Well, one of the things we are doing is donating to charity, but I'm sure there's something that's not great about it at some point. I don't know. Well, I don't know. So far, I've seen great things, and like literally, the story that was given to me when I went to the Chinese tournament was like they sent like a fucking officer to check on what's going on with the tournament, making sure people aren't like degenerating their lives. And it's like, oh, like actually, no, that's not really what's going on, and they're being responsible, blah blah blah. And,
wait,
like,
there's a tournament you're playing in?
No, but there was one in Sanya, where it's technically illegal, but because of the fact that the officer that goes there basically reports that it's going well, this is like the reason why it continues like to be a big thing, because like at least the government thinks, okay, like poker's not such a bad thing. We're like happy it's here, like that kind of thing. And I thought to myself, well, why can't someone just like, because apparently all it takes is one politician to one person in the government to say, hey, the poker situation's fucked up, we gotta get rid of it. But apparently that can't really happen because literally there's just not that much corruption, is what I heard. And like actually they recently got rid of a bunch of billionaires that were just like fucking with the system, one of which owes me money, by the way. Shit. Yeah. I'm trying to think of how to deal with this guy.
How much does he owe you?
Like $5 million.
That's a substantial amount of money. How did he end up with $5 million of your dollars?
Well, he
I'm trying to think of how to deal with them. I guess I can out him. I'm trying to think. Yeah, his name's Peng. It's literally Peng means fat in Chinese. He's fat. And he basically I helped him make money in a situation that was like it was basically I helped him make money, and he got him into a fucked up situation. And, you know, a partner of ours said, 100%, dude, this guy's going to pay, like, blah, 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 all that kind of shit. He was very rich, but apparently the government, like, really fucked him over. And, you know, now he's, like, hanging out in the U.S., and I can barely have a conversation with him. He doesn't speak English, but doesn't seem to want to talk to me.
Did you float him five?
Huh?
You floated him $5 million, or that's what
No,
you...
dude, I won him money, basically.
Yeah.
And didn't get paid, and well, I got paid a little bit. I got paid like a third of it. I actually was owed more, something like that. And then, yeah, he didn't pay me, man. He doesn't pay a lot of people. He owes the other guy a lot more money than me, for what it's worth. The guy that like swore, yeah, dude, it's 100%. He's gonna pay, bro. Like,
what a guy! What a guy!
Well,
what a guy!
You know, I was the sharp one, sort of. I just wish I sold the debt. But yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's that story. It's kind of annoying. It seems like scammers get more sophisticated. Yeah. Well, anyone else you want to out? Any other shitheads you want to talk about before we wrap things up? It's been a long.
I mean, we would be here all day if I talked about every shithead I had knowledge of. Unfortunately.
Oh well. Okay. Well, you know. Every shithead has a time and their place for their moment of reckoning to come. But I'm happy to bring some other shitheads their moment of reckoning if they get a kick out of this. It's like makes me feel like a purpose, you know, like smash some shitheads. Like finally,
I know that feeling.
Huh?
I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
It's like, okay, well, people fucked me over, and I could fuck the fuckers over, and become the crusader. But bring that moment of justice to them.
All right. Well, sir, it's been real.
All right.